What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another episode of Player Ratings. As Spurs lost 2-0 away to Sporting Lisbon in the second Champions League game in Spurs' first defeat of the season, and a lot has been made out of it. A lot of panic, let's say, going on in the Spurs fan base at the moment. But let's start off with Hugo Lloris, and I'm going to give him, I'm going to say an 8. Even a 9, to be honest. I thought he was brilliant. Hugo Lloris kept us in the game at times. One really important save in the first half from Marcus Edwards. One really good save in the second half from Pedro Porro. I mean, he really was keeping us in it at times. And he was also really commanding from crosses as well, catching countless amounts of crosses throughout the game. But ultimately, we did scum to a lose at the end, and I don't think you can really blame him for either of those goals.
Yeah, I think when it comes to Lloris, he was our best player. I think, but no one can argue with that. Yeah, he made 2 really good saves actually in the first half. One was an effort that was trickling towards the far post. He tipped round the corner, and then obviously one from Edwards, and you said one from Porro. I would say for me, first goal, you can't do anything about. Second goal, I think he'll be a bit disappointed with it. I think he might be able to save it. Not to say it was a mistake, but I reckon he would be a bit disappointed with it. But I think he was, again, fantastic. And if it wasn't for him, we would have lost the game a lot earlier. But, yeah, he had a really good game.
Let's move on to the centre-backs now. Let's start off with Cristian Romero. For me, I think I'm going to give him a 5, to be honest. I don't think... He hasn't been at the races, really, as much as he has been since being back from injury. He's lost a bit of that aggressive edge to his game. He's not really stepping in front of the attackers and winning the ball as aggressively as we've liked to see in the past. Playing out from the back, I thought, was fairly weak as well last night, and he got drifted past way too easily for that goal, for the second goal. So not a good display from Kuti, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's lacking just that bit of bite and aggression, isn't he, right now? And ever since he's come back from the injury, I reckon maybe he really did rush himself back, because he just doesn't look right at the moment, Romero, ever since he returned. I don't know if the international break will help him or hinder him, because obviously he's going away with Argentina, and I don't know how much he's going to play, but he's lost that edge, that anticipation and that aggression, and it's really hindering him at the moment. I think in terms of him on the ball as well, it doesn't seem as progressive as maybe we would like as well. So, yeah, I'd probably agree with that rating. He's not been great recently, Romero.
Moves us on to Eric Dier. I'm going to give Eric Dier a 6. I think it was a mixed bag, actually, from Dier, to be honest. I think let's talk about on the ball first. I mean, really was. I mean, there was some really good distribution out there, some really poor distribution out there. I think for the most part, he did command the back line really well. But in that last 10 minutes, he didn't command the back line at all.
Yeah, for me, I think I'm disappointed with Eric Dier. For me, I think he's a 4. Actually, I thought he was pretty disappointing. One of our weaker defenders. I thought he struggled badly to deal with Edwards at times from the corner. He could have done a bit better as well. I do worry about him when he steps out from defence and has to do some defending one-on-one, or even step into midfield and build from the back. That's one of the things I was looking forward to him in terms of in possession from pre-season, but hasn't quite seen it as of yet. In terms of his defensively, I don't know. This season, he seems to be getting caught out way too much for my liking, way too much. And last season, whether he was better protected or he was defending better, I'm not quite sure which one it is. But he seems to be getting caught out way too often, and it cost us. It nearly cost us with goals yesterday, and from the set piece it did. But Edwards was catching him out way too often, and that's not good.
Yeah, you're probably right there, to be honest. There were a few key moments that I did miss out there. But let's move on to Ben Davies. On the left-hand side of the back three. It was a bit of a surprise inclusion because we thought Clement Longley was going to start in this one. And I think he didn't do himself any favours yesterday, Ben Davies, to be honest. I'm going to give him a 5. Look, I think for the most part we defended okay, but it's just completely different when we have a Clement Longley with that distribution in the back. I mean, just cast your mind back to that Fulham game. It's just complete night and day what Ben Davies and Clement Longley can produce. And I think Davies is kind of reverting into what we have seen maybe pre-Conte. I just don't think his performances are as good as what we're seeing now as they has been maybe at the last season.
He doesn't seem as confident for some reason. I'm not really sure why.
Maybe it is because Longley's come in to challenge him. I don't know.
Maybe. Maybe when he knew he was number 1 and he had that confidence to to play to the best visibility, but now he's got some challenge. Maybe he's regressing, but I think his movement was pretty good. I actually think we'll talk about how well Perisic played later, but I think he was able to play as well as he did. But a lot was down to Davies constantly overlapping and creating space for him, and that was actually quite important. So that was quite good. But other than that, didn't do too much on the ball. It was mainly off the ball. His off-the-ball movement that was good. And defensively, Edwards for that chance in the first half, he wasn't great for, and obviously Porro, I think, beat him for that chance near the end of the game as well, which forced Lloris into a save. So that wasn't great, but by and large, there wasn't too much to shout about there with Davies.
Moving on to Emerson Royal, right wing back, a poor display, to be honest, going forward and defensively. I think in the early knockings of the game, he did, quite a bit did come down his side, to be honest, and it all culminated when he got nutmegged right at the end. In absolute disastrous defending, but you got to say Emerson was involved in a lot of the play yesterday. A lot of the play. He was seeing a lot of the ball. He had 2 chances to get on the score sheet as well, which he should have done better from. But when you go forward and you've got Emerson on the right-hand side and so much space with so much time on the ball every single time, and it ends up in nothing every single time, it's just so frustrating. And it's just a constant theme that we're seeing every single game now. And it's no follow-on from last season. He gets the ball in good positions and can do nothing with it, and that's the frustrating thing.
Yeah, and I think when our front three are firing and playing well and creating chances for themselves, then it's not so much of an issue. But when they're a bit stale like they were yesterday, then the creation has to come from the wing backs. And Perisic was doing his job, but Emerson just simply was not doing his job yesterday going forward. And he was a bit of a liability, in fact. And I've always praised Emerson because I think his athleticism and his defensive capabilities are what keeps him in the team. But yesterday, especially the latter, just didn't have that. I thought he was badly exposed for that second goal, albeit we were 1-0 down already. But I think going forward, it's becoming. It's already been an issue, but when the front three aren't there, it becomes a real issue, and that's the big problem that we have in those situations. And I think Conte's stubbornness, not replacing him with someone like Kulusevski like he did against Marseille, maybe that would have helped with that in the second half. But there are so many times there was one time obviously he forced a save from the keeper at the back post, but so many times where he has the opportunity to whip in a ball or find a man, and the chance goes begging. Way often it culminated in that one chance, wasn't it, when he had like 3 or 4 men in the box and he had time and space and he just hit it like straight into the keeper. Happens so often, and it's really frustrating. And I don't know what Spence and Doherty are showing in training to keep them out of the team sometimes in these kind of games, but at the moment, Conte's playing him every game, and he's being very stubborn about it. And I wonder if that'll change on the weekend after that performance, because he seemed visibly frustrated with Emerson. But I think he has to at least come out of the team for one game at least. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I got a feeling this weekend we're going to see quite a few changes, to be honest. I really do. But let's move on to the midfield. Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg, I'm going to give him a 5, to be honest. I don't think it was a really good display again. Well, not again, because I think I've been singing his praises all season, ever since Conte has come in, to be honest. But I think it was actually a poor display yesterday from Pierre. He was putting out a lot of fires in the middle of the park. Got that yellow card to stop Sporting Lisbon having a counter-attack as well. But he just didn't do what he has been doing in the past couple of games and really driving the team forward, looking for those incisive passes over the top, through the middle. And his passing was dreadful yesterday.
Yeah, it was it was probably his worst performance of the season. I have to say that the yellow card he picked up was actually because he lost possession and he was recovering from his own lost possession, and ended up getting himself booked, and then that hampered him a bit. I think him and Bentancur struggled a bit with some Sporting attackers moving between the lines and catching them out, and the attackers dropping deep, overloading the middle. So they struggled with that aspect, but. Most of the time they have capabilities to control it, and they were trying to, and I think they did defensively for large parts of the second half. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough to get us going forward, and that's what cost us in the end.
Moving on to his midfield partner, Rodrigo Bentancur, and I actually thought he was much better than Hojbjerg. Actually, I'm going to give him a 6. I think maybe a 7's a bit too high for Bentancur yesterday, but I did feel like he was winning the ball back countless amount of times in the middle of the park. He was passing the ball and laying it off for Spurs to go on their way and start their attacks. But it was actually later on in the moves where it fell apart every time. But I thought Bentancur was showing some really nice silky touches yesterday, and I actually thought he had a good game.
I thought it was fairly similar to Hojbjerg, to be honest. I didn't think there was too much in it, in my opinion. I thought he also struggled. I didn't, again, Hojbjerg is one who does most of progressive passes, so I don't usually go on a Bentancur who doesn't do it as much, but I thought, like, on the ball, he wasn't particularly great. Off the ball, he was okay, but I thought, for me, it was quite similar to Hojbjerg. I don't think there was much difference.
Interesting. I thought, for some reason, I mean, I'm the only one that sees Bentancur having a good game yesterday. But let's move on to Ivan Perisic on the left wing back. Going to give him a 7. Best outfield player on the pitch yesterday for us. Our only real creative outlet throughout the game. Created 2 really good chances in the first half, a number of chances in the second half. Defensively, I think he did okay for the most part, but there was one moment where Marcus Edwards really did sell him down the river. But all in all, he was our only real creative outlet yesterday.
Yeah, he was the only one looking to make something happen, and he had that chance in the second half. He drove it across the face of goal. No one there to tap it in. He put a really good ball into Richarlison, to the back post, whose header was weak, didn't test the keeper. He was the one looking most likely to make something happen for us, and he's a constant threat down the left-hand side. You just know when Perisic picks it up, he's always likely to beat his man and get good quality crosses into the box. It happens so often. And I am going to expect a lot more assists from him this season. Unfortunately, he didn't get too much help from people around him, but he was one of the shining lights again among a sea of poor performances.
Moving on to Richarlison, an interesting one. I mean, he tried, but it seemed like he was like a man on a sole mission at times yesterday, Richarlison, where just nothing was really coming off for him. He did have that offside goal, which was a nice finish, took it round the keeper, but it was clearly offside. Apart from that, I mean, he was huffing and puffing without really blowing any houses down, and it was okay, but nothing great.
Yeah, they even
give him a 6, by the way.
Yeah. I'll probably give him something similar. I'd probably give him a 6 as well. I think they had him on the right. He was struggling there, so they moved him onto the left and Son onto the right. He was struggling there, so they moved him back onto the right. He had one chance, I think, with his left foot, which we had a shot in the second half, which went just wide. I don't remember too many other opportunities. I think what Richarlison brings that Son and Kane at the moment are lacking a bit is that real aggressive pressing off the ball, and that's what he can bring right now, and maybe that aerial ability, but he didn't really show that, unfortunately, yesterday. No, it wasn't for the lack of trying. I just feel like sometimes without Kulusevski, we lose that incisiveness that he brings in the final third. With Son, Kane and Richarlison up front, obviously 3 very good players, but they're too much. They're all kind of like goal scorers. There's no creator in there. Obviously, Kane can create.
So can Kulu.
No, I'm saying without Kulu. Yeah. And that's why maybe those 3. Obviously, they did very well against Fulham, but I think Richarlison, when asked to create a bit, wasn't up to that task, which was a bit of a shame. But he was probably our biggest threat in terms of trying to get a goal out of the front 3.
Yeah, I agree. I did think he looked a lot more dangerous than Kane and Son, which moves us on to Heung-min Son. Unfortunately, he's going to have to get a 5 for yesterday, maybe even a 4 for Sonny. Carries on the current theme with Heung-min Son. I mean, I think he was trying very hard yesterday. He was getting the ball, going on runs, but ultimately that's all it was yesterday. There was no quality in the final third, no real good crosses going in, no real good attempts on goal. It was just huffing and puffing again without doing much in the final third.
Yeah, it's a bit anonymous, unfortunately. Didn't really get involved in the game, and again, after a week break, you think maybe it would be a good time for him to reset and recharge, but again, not quite happening for him right now. Heung-min Son, don't remember too many chances he was even able to fluff or anything like that. He was just on the periphery for large parts of the game. Kane was looking for him, but to no avail, and I don't remember too many opportunities he was able to create for anyone else. So he just seems to be struggling right now, Heung-min Son, and maybe it is time to take him out of the team for a game at least.
We seem to be saying this every game, though, to be honest, which moves us on to the last of the starting 11, Harry Kane. I think he's got to have to get a similar rating as well, probably a 5 for Harry Kane. And again, you could see he was definitely trying. He was winning a few aerial duels. He was dropping deep, trying to switch the play and make stuff happen. But ultimately, again, just nothing was coming off for him. Absolutely nothing. There was one chance that Perisic mustered up for him in the first half. But that's all I can remember, really.
Yeah, I think he was trying to be a bit of a creator for Son and Richarlison, because without Kulu there, his creation has to go up a notch. And I think they did a good job snuffing him out and making sure he wasn't able to get on the turn. He was trying these one-touch passes, which when they come off, obviously put you in a great position, but a lot of the time they weren't, and it was getting very frustrating. He wasn't able to hold the ball up as well as I would liked as well, and it just wasn't really enough of a goal threat for me. So a bit disappointing in that aspect. But obviously he was trying. I don't think anyone was a lack of trying yesterday. It was just. I must have been a structural issue because we really struggled to get any sort of testing of their goalkeeper from the front three.
Yeah. Absolutely, and then the substitute Dejan Kulusevski came on for Heung-min Son with 20 minutes to go, and as soon as he came on, you could see more energy to that front line, someone trying to create, get down to that byline, but still, it wasn't like the Kulusevski performances that we have seen in the past. I mean, he was getting stuffed out fairly well from Sporting.
Yeah, I think I just remember one moment where he took on the fullback and then got into the nearly very close to the penalty area before being tripped and earn a free kick in a good position. Apart from that run, I don't...
That's more than Richarlison, Son and Kane did.
Yeah, pretty much. But apart from that run, I don't remember too much from what he did. I don't think it was... look, he only had, 20 minutes or so. So, look, I'm not going to criticise him too much, but I didn't think he even had the most impactful cameo, in my opinion. But he did okay with that one moment, and... I just feel like we miss him sometimes. It's just that decision making, and it's just the weight of pass that he knows what to do. Things. I think Richarlison and Son were in those positions. They're just a lot more looser and less incisive with their passing than he is, and that's why maybe we look more balanced when he's there. So I'd like to see him return, but I don't think he's going to solve all our problems, but it might help.
Look, I think that when you're talking about Dejan Kulusevski, Son and Richarlison, in my opinion, Kulusevski's shown more than all three out of all the three this season. I think he needs to be in the team at the moment with the way everyone's playing, especially Heung-min Son. So if I had to make a decision for next game, I would start with Kane up top, Kulu on the right and Richarlison on the left.
Yeah, there's no real reason performance-wise for him not to be in the team right now. That's
3 games as well.
That doesn't sit right with me that he's missing. I don't think Conte has left him out because of performance. I think right now he believes that Son and Kane are undroppable, and he believes Richarlison's in better form after he got a great game against Fulham and 2 goals against Marseille. So you can't leave him out, but he has to think about leaving one of the other 2 out, and that's just reality right now, because I think Kulusevski deserves to be in the team. Or he's playing a right wing back or give him more minutes, you know what I mean? Because we looked good at wing back when he came on against Marseille.
Yeah, I thought he should have done well. Let's get on to Conte now, and I'm going to give Conte a 5 for yesterday. It's a current theme that's happening in the majority of games this season. When we're not looking creative enough, we're looking slow, we're looking sluggish, especially in first halves. And I don't think we're doing enough to address things, especially from the off in the first half. Things do change in the second half, which is credit to Conte. But yesterday it wasn't enough, as it has been maybe in previous games. I think in-game management, things could be doing more. Maybe, to bring on more changes, change things earlier to impact the game positively. But ultimately, I think Conte is being a bit too stubborn for his own good at the moment. And I think that proves it with the result from yesterday and the way we're playing our football. Because we're not doing enough. Conte's not doing enough to change the way we're playing our football at the moment.
Yeah, it's becoming a bit predictable. That's reality. And the performances have not been amazing. The results have been good. But yesterday... it kind of went against us. What everyone's been saying came to a head yesterday with that result. I just feel like sometimes Conte, if we're not conceding too many chances, he's kind of happy to let it go and rely on our good quality individuals to try to get provide a moment and win us the game. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough yesterday. The individuals were out of form, and then the structure wasn't able to bail us out. So I think he's got to change things quicker when things don't seem to be working in terms of chance creation. I think he looks too much defensively, and we're not conceding too many chances, so I'm not going to change it. But he doesn't think enough, unless we're losing, to say we're not creating enough, I'm going to change it. I think he likes the stability of the team defensively and relies on that a bit too much. And I want to see him proactively change things enough. But look, that's always how he has been, so I don't expect that to change. So for me, I'm not saying expect a lot more results like this, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be similar situations like yesterday, where we're not conceding or too many chances, we're not creating too many, but he just waits to change it until very late on because he likes stability. And that's what I envisage. So I think for me, I think that's just something we're going to have to get used to, I think, under Antonio Conte in that kind of scenario. Look, not to say if we're losing a game and we're like we were yesterday, I'm sure he will change it early. And we've seen that.
If it's drawing, going late into the later stages of the game.
Yeah, like for example, like we were 2-0 down against Wolves last season, and after half an hour he made 2 substitutions, didn't he? Or made a substitution. So like he's not afraid to change it early if it's really not working for losing and stuff. But I feel like when we're drawing games and it's close and we're not conceding too many chances, he tends to side on the side of caution, and that's maybe one of his weaknesses in that aspect. But that's what he is.
I completely get that, but how do we change the way things are going at the moment? Because back in the last season, we were playing really well, good football, building up from the back, really good passing moves at times. This season, it just seems to be so disjointed, and I can't put my finger on what actually is going wrong this season in terms of the way we're playing our football.
Yeah, maybe teams are more ready for us. Maybe they're too used to the way we're playing, and we have to find better solutions. We don't seem to be playing that quick one-touch pass and move kind of.
In second half, though, it's just like first half.
We were at times in the second half yesterday, but those build-up moments where teams are pressing us, and then we can play through their press and find that space. We were doing that. We had doing that time and time again last season. At the back end, when we beat, Everton, Newcastle, Villa, we're playing some really good football, scoring lots of goals. Hasn't quite happened so far this season. But then again, look, we are still in September. How many times under Pochettino did we have a really poor first month or 6 weeks even, and then once we hit our stride in October, November, we started really blowing teams away. So it's still very early on. There's no need to start thinking just because it's like this now, it's always going to be like this. And even if we do get a few more poor results, doesn't mean after those poor results it won't start to change again. You remember last season under Conte, we lost 4 out of 5 games and went on a great run and earned ourselves top 4. So things can change very quickly in football to how you're playing from game by game. So as much as I'm not particularly delighted and happy with how we're playing right now, and obviously the result yesterday cost us, we're still in a good position. We know that this manager knows how to get things going again. He's shown it time and time again. So I'm not particularly worried right now. I don't think it's a case of we have to change everything to get back to playing. We just need to keep perfecting how our game plan and making sure we're doing the right things. And I'm sure Conte will get those players to do that.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, word for word. I mean, absolutely spot on. And I think it's also worth saying that when you're not playing well and you're still producing the results that we can produce so far this season, that's got to be looked at as a positive, because like I keep saying, that once we do click, how much harder are we going to be to beat? Even when we're not playing well, we're still hard to beat. Yesterday, it was only a 90-minute goal that really gave us that defeat. Yeah, we conceded 2 in the end and capitulated, but all in all this season, we have been a tough nut to crack and we have been hard to beat even when we're not playing well. So I do think the good performances will come and that will make us even harder to beat. So good things ahead. Good things ahead. It is a bit frustrating that we have lost our first game of the season. Football isn't great at the moment, but keep the faith. Spurs will get better. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.